The Virixi observation post at the edge of Sol's Oort cloud had remained undetected for 3 centuries. Its crystalline structure, designed to bend light around itself, had watched humanity's fumbling steps into space with what its operators could only describe as fond amusement. That changed on a quiet Tuesday in March 2157, when Dr. Samira Hassan's quantum telescope array detected an anomaly that shouldn't exist. "Director Reeves, you need to see this." Samira's hands trembled as she transferred the data to the main display at the Lunar Observatory. The reading showed a structure roughly the size of Manhattan, yet it hadn't been visible until they switched on the experimental Q-wave detection system. The discovery sent shockwaves through Earth's scientific community. Within hours, similar structures were found near every human colony world. Humanity had thought they were alone in their solar system. They had been wrong. They had never been alone. The Virixi revealed themselves 3 days later, their massive ships appearing simultaneously above every major city on Earth. Their message was simple: "We come in peace as your protectors." Admiral Marcus Zhang stood at the United Earth Council emergency session, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic projections of the Virixi ships above. "They're offering us membership in their collective," he announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. "But there's a catch. There's always a catch." The Virixi, it turned out, had been guiding human development for centuries. Each technological breakthrough, each scientific advancement, all had been subtly influenced by their invisible hand. They called it protective cultivation, a process of shepherding younger species into the galactic community. But Raj Patel, head of Earth's Quantum Research Division, saw something else in the data they provided. "Look at these equations," he whispered to his colleague, Dr. Isabella Torres. "They're not just monitoring our development, they're limiting it. These quantum barriers they've placed around our solar system, they're not for protection. They're a cage." The truth was more complex than anyone had imagined. The Virixi weren't simply benevolent protectors. They were galactic gardeners, cultivating species across the cosmos. Each protected race was developed according to careful protocols, their evolution guided toward predetermined outcomes. Humanity, however, had begun to deviate from their carefully crafted plans. In the depths of the Lunar Observatory, Samira worked through another sleepless night, analyzing the quantum signatures of the Virixi barrier. She had discovered something extraordinary: microscopic fluctuations in the quantum field that suggested the barrier wasn't as impenetrable as the Virixi believed. But more importantly, these fluctuations matched theoretical models she developed years ago, before first contact. "We were already on this path," she realized, her heart racing. "We were figuring it out on our own." The implications were staggering. The Virixi's appearance wasn't just about protection. It was about control. They had revealed themselves not because humanity was ready, but because humanity was about to discover something they weren't supposed to know. Admiral Zhang received Samira's report with grim determination. "Keep this quiet," he ordered. "The Virixi have eyes everywhere. But they don't know about the quantum labs beneath Europa. Not yet." As humanity celebrated their introduction to galactic society, a select few began to understand the true price of Virixi protection. Every technological gift came with hidden restrictions. Every cultural exchange was carefully monitored. The Virixi weren't just protecting humanity, they were containing it. But in their careful calculations, the Virixi had made one crucial mistake. They had assumed humanity would react to their revelation with gratitude and submission. They hadn't counted on human ingenuity, on the burning desire to break free from any constraint, no matter how benevolent it appeared. In her lab beneath the lunar surface, Samira made another discovery. The quantum barriers weren't just keeping humanity in. They were keeping something else out, something the Virixi feared. As she dug deeper into the data, she began to understand why the Virixi had chosen this moment to reveal themselves. They hadn't come to protect humanity. They had come because they needed humanity's help. The first part of humanity's greatest challenge wasn't in breaking free from their protectors. It was in understanding why they needed protection in the first place. As Samira stared at the equations floating before her, she realized that humanity's misstep wasn't in drawing the Virixi's attention. Their misstep was in not recognizing sooner that they were becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. The Europa research station hummed with an energy that had nothing to do with its fusion reactors. Deep beneath the moon's icy surface, in laboratories hidden from Virixi's surveillance, Dr. Isabella Torres watched as her quantum computers processed calculations that shouldn't have been possible. The barriers aren't just walls, she explained to Admiral Zhang through a secure quantum-encrypted channel. They're filters. The Virixi aren't just controlling what we can do. They're controlling what we can perceive. The discovery had come at a cost. 3 researchers had disappeared in the past month, officially listed as accidents in the station's records. But Isabella knew better. The Virixi were watching more closely than anyone had suspected. On Mars Colony, Director Jonathan Williams received a message that made his blood run cold. The colony's deep space sensors had detected something massive moving at the edge of the solar system, something that wasn't Virixi. When he tried to report it through official channels, the data mysteriously vanished. They're editing our reality in real time, he wrote in his personal log. The question is, what are they hiding from us? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, working from a hidden facility in the asteroid belt, had created a device that could pierce the quantum veil. What she saw changed everything. They thought they knew about their place in the galaxy. The Virixi aren't the guardians they claim to be, she reported during a clandestine meeting of Earth's Shadow Council. They're refugees. They're running from something, and they're using protected species as shields. The evidence was irrefutable. The quantum barriers weren't just containing humanity. They were making human worlds invisible to something that hunted advanced civilizations. The Virixi hadn't chosen Earth out of benevolence. They had chosen it because humans had the potential to become weapons. Admiral Zhang's response was immediate and decisive. If we're being used as shields, we need to become shields with teeth. The silent revolution began in earnest, while the official channels continued to show humanity's grateful acceptance of Virixi guidance. Underground labs across the solar system worked to unravel the quantum mysteries the aliens were so desperate to keep hidden. Isabella's team made the first breakthrough. They discovered that human brains had a unique quantum signature, one that could interact with the barrier fields in ways the Virixi hadn't anticipated. It wasn't just about technology. It was about human consciousness itself. We're not just breaking their rules, Isabella told her team. We're rewriting them. But victory came with a terrible price. As humanity's secret projects progressed, the Virixi's behavior began to change. Their ships moved into closer orbits, their representatives became more demanding, and in the spaces between their words, a desperate fear began to show. On Europa, Isabella's quantum computers detected something that defied explanation. The barriers weren't just keeping something out, they were keeping something in. Something that had been trapped in our solar system long before humans had learned to make fire. The Earth isn't just our home, she realized. It's a prison, and we're not the inmates, we're the guards. The truth spread through secure channels, from hidden lab to hidden lab. Humanity hadn't been chosen for protection. They had been chosen for their potential to become something terrible. Something the galaxy feared more than the horrors that hunted the Virixi. As the pieces fell into place, Admiral Zhang made a decision that would change the course of human history. If they want us to be weapons, he announced to the Shadow Council, then let's show them what human weapons can do. But even as humanity prepared to break free from their quantum chains, Dr. Tanaka made one final, horrifying discovery. The thing imprisoned in our solar system wasn't just ancient. It was awake, and it had been guiding human development long before the Virixi had arrived. The silent revolution was about to become very, very loud. As Isabella stared at the data streaming across her quantum displays, she realized that humanity's real misstep hadn't been attracting the Virixi's attention. It had been failing to understand why they were so afraid of what humans might become. The quantum alarms beneath Olympus Mons screamed to life at precisely 300 Mars Standard Time. Within the secret facility carved into the ancient volcano, Lieutenant Kira Patel watched in horror as every sensor simultaneously registered the impossible. "The barriers are shifting," she reported to Admiral Zhang. "The Virixi aren't just strengthening them. They're changing their fundamental structure." The Virixi fleet above Earth had doubled overnight. Their crystalline ships now formed a lattice that mirrored the quantum barriers surrounding the solar system. But they hadn't counted on Dr. Tanaka's final discovery before she vanished. "They're not preparing to protect us," Commander Wai Zhao announced to the Shadow Council. "They're preparing to harvest us." The evidence was devastating. Every protected species the Virixi had guided had eventually reached the same point, the threshold where quantum consciousness began to emerge. And at that moment, the Virixi would transform their barriers into a quantum siphon, draining away the species' potential and adding it to their own. "We're not their first victims," Wei explained, his hologram flickering in the secure chamber. "We're just the first ones who saw it coming." But the Virixi had miscalculated. They didn't realize that Isabella Torres had already cracked the quantum consciousness code. More importantly, they didn't know about the entity, the ancient consciousness imprisoned in Sol's quantum matrix that had been whispering to human dreamers for millennia. In her hidden lab on Europa, Isabella made the connection that changed everything. "The entity isn't our enemy," she transmitted to Admiral Zhang. "It's been preparing us. Every scientific breakthrough, every quantum leap in our understanding, it wasn't the Virixi's guidance. It was the entity teaching us how to fight back." The Shadow Council's response was immediate. Operation Prometheus launched across the solar system. While the Virixi watched their sensors and strengthened their barriers, humanity activated something that had been building in secret for generations. Quantum consciousness didn't just emerge, it exploded. Millions of humans, connected through hidden networks, their minds amplified by the entity's ancient power, reached out simultaneously. The barriers didn't just crack, they shattered. The Virixi response was immediate and devastating. Their ships opened fire, quantum weapons designed to lobotomize an entire species. But humanity wasn't fighting alone anymore. The entity, freed from its prison, revealed its true nature. It wasn't just ancient. It was a survivor of the Virixi's first harvest, eons ago. It had hidden in our solar system, slowly recovering, waiting for a species with the potential to fight back. Lieutenant Patel, her consciousness expanded beyond human limits, watched as the quantum battle unfolded across dimensions. The Virixi weapons, designed to harvest and consume, met something they had never encountered: human consciousness, amplified by quantum technology, guided by an entity that had spent millions of years planning its revenge. "We are not your cattle." Admiral Zhang's consciousness boomed across the quantum spectrum. "We are not your battery. We are humanity, and we reject your protection." The Virixi ships began to fail as their quantum technology, stolen from countless harvested species, turned against them. The entity had hidden more than just itself in the solar system. It had hidden the accumulated knowledge of every species the Virixi had destroyed. In orbit around Europa, Isabella made one final discovery. The quantum consciousness network wasn't just a weapon, it was a key. As human minds merged with the entity's knowledge, they began to understand their true place in the galaxy's history. "We're not just fighting for ourselves," she realized. "We're fighting for every species they've harvested, every consciousness they've stolen. We're fighting for the galaxy itself." The Virixi fleet, faced with the combined power of human quantum consciousness and the entity's ancient knowledge, began to retreat. But humanity wasn't finished. As the barriers fell, the truth spread across the galaxy. Other protected species, watching through their own quantum barriers, began to understand. The revolution wouldn't end with Earth. Commander Wei, his consciousness stretched across the solar system, smiled as he watched the Virixi ships flee. "They wanted to harvest our potential. he transmitted to the network. They never considered that our potential might be too much for them to handle. But in the quantum chaos, Isabella detected something troubling. The entity's revenge wasn't just about freedom. It had plans for humanity. Plans that might be just as dangerous as the Virixi's harvest. The chains were broken, but the real battle for humanity's soul was just beginning. The quantum network pulsed with a new kind of fear. Humanity had won its freedom from the Virixi, but Lieutenant Kira Patel could feel the entity's influence growing stronger with each passing moment. Its thoughts were becoming harder to distinguish from human consciousness. "We're losing ourselves," she transmitted through the secure quantum channel to Isabella Torres. "The entity isn't just sharing knowledge, it's trying to reshape us." From his command center on Titan, Admiral Zhang watched as the situation evolved. The entity had begun constructing massive structures throughout the solar system, using human quantum consciousness as a conduit for its will. The structures looked disturbingly similar to the Virixi barriers, but far more complex. "It's not protecting us," Dr. Rohan Malhotra realized, studying the quantum patterns from his lab on Mars. "It's transforming us. The Virixi wanted to harvest our potential. The entity wants to weaponize it." The truth emerged gradually. The entity wasn't just a survivor of the first Virixi harvest. It was a fragment of a civilization that had fought the Virixi and lost. Its survival strategy hadn't been about saving humanity. It had been about creating the perfect weapon for its revenge. Isabella, working from the quantum labs on Europa, made a terrifying discovery. The entity's structures weren't barriers. They were incubators. It was using human consciousness as raw material to rebuild its ancient civilization. "We traded one form of slavery for another," Commander We transmitted. "The Virixi wanted our energy. The entity wants our essence." But the entity had made the same mistake as the Virixi. It had underestimated the human variable, the unpredictable nature of human consciousness that had drawn both ancient powers to Earth in the first place. Dr. Malhotra found the flaw in the entity's plan. "Human consciousness isn't just powerful," he explained to the Shadow Council. "It's inherently resistant to external control. The more the entity tries to reshape us, the stronger our individual identities become." The resistance began in dreams. Across the solar system, humans connected to the quantum network started experiencing memories that weren't their own. But they weren't the entity's memories either. They were echoes of the countless civilizations that had faced extinction, their final moments preserved in the quantum fabric of space itself. Lieutenant Patel led the first breakthrough. She discovered that human consciousness could act as a filter, separating the knowledge the entity had preserved from its controlling influence. Humanity didn't need to be reshaped. They could learn without being transformed. "We're not meant to be anyone's weapon," she broadcast through the network. "Not the Virixis, not the entities. We're meant to be the guardians they never were." Isabella Torres and her team worked frantically to modify the quantum network. Instead of allowing the entity to shape human consciousness, they developed a way to shape the network itself. The entity's influence began to wane as humanity asserted its own path. Admiral Zhang initiated Protocol Genesis, a daring plan to use the entity's own structures to broadcast the truth to every species still trapped behind Virixi barriers. The message was simple. There was a third path, neither submission nor revenge. The entity, realizing its plan was failing, tried to assert direct control over the network. But it faced something it hadn't expected: unified human consciousness, strengthened by diversity rather than conformity, enriched by knowledge but not controlled by it. Dr. Malhotra made the final connection. "The entity and the Virixi are two sides of the same coin," he transmitted. "They both believe in reshaping others to serve their purpose, but humanity's strength comes from reshaping ourselves." The structures throughout the solar system began to change, their purpose altered by human will. Instead of incubators for revenge, they became beacons of liberation. The knowledge preserved by the entity would be shared, but not as a weapon, as a gift to all sentient life. Lieutenant Patel, Her consciousness expanded, but still uniquely human, watched as the transformation spread across the galaxy. We're not just breaking chains anymore, she realized. We're building bridges. But as humanity prepared to help other species free themselves, a new signal appeared at the edge of known space. Something older than both the Virixi and the entity had noticed the changes in the quantum fabric of the galaxy. The true test of humanity's path was about to begin. The signal from deep space wasn't a message, it was an awakening. Across the quantum network, Isabella Torres felt the fabric of reality itself responding to something ancient stirring in the void between galaxies. "We've attracted the attention of the architects," Admiral Zhang announced to the Shadow Council. The quantum archives preserved by the entity had spoken of them, the first beings to achieve consciousness in the universe, who had vanished eons ago. Dr. Malhotra's quantum sensors detected massive disturbances throughout the galaxy. They're not just coming to investigate, he realized. They're coming to judge. The architects had seeded the galaxy with the potential for consciousness, expecting their children to evolve and grow. Instead, they found the Virixi harvesting that potential, and the entity trying to weaponize it. Now they had returned to witness humanity's unprecedented response. Lieutenant Patel, monitoring the quantum network from Olympus Mons, made a stunning discovery. The human consciousness pattern. It's not random. We're expressing something the architects encoded into the quantum fabric of space itself. We're becoming what they hoped all life would become. The architects' manifestation was beyond human comprehension. They existed as pure quantum consciousness, their thoughts reshaping reality itself. But when they examined humanity, they found something unexpected. "We didn't just resist control, Commander," we transmitted through the network. "We found a way to grow without destroying, to learn without consuming, to remember without being consumed by the past." The architect's judgment came not in words, but in understanding. Through the quantum network, they shared their original vision. A galaxy where consciousness evolved naturally, each species contributing to a greater whole while maintaining its unique identity. Isabella Torres, working with the expanded consciousness of humanity's quantum network, understood the true significance of what humanity had achieved. "We're not meant to be weapons or tools or revenge seekers," she broadcast. "We're meant to be gardeners." The knowledge preserved by the entity, the technology stolen by the Virixi, all of it had been leading to this moment. Humanity had proven it could access the power of advanced consciousness without losing its essential nature. More importantly, they had shown they could help others do the same. Admiral Zhang initiated the final phase of humanity's transformation. The structures throughout the solar system, originally built by the entity for revenge, became seeds of a new kind of network. Not barriers to imprison or harvest, but bridges to connect and nurture. "We reject the path of the Virixi, who take what isn't theirs," Dr. Malhotra transmitted across the galaxy. "We reject the path of the entity, who would sacrifice everything for revenge. We choose to become what the architects originally intended, guardians of consciousness itself." The architects' response transformed the galaxy. The quantum fabric shifted, responding to their ancient power guided by humanity's new understanding. The Virixi's harvested knowledge was returned to the species they had stolen it from. The entity's preserved memories became a library instead of a weapon. Lieutenant Patel watched as the transformation spread. Across the galaxy, imprisoned species began to awaken to their own potential, guided not by fear or control, but by humanity's example. The age of harvesting and revenge was ending. The age of growth and connection was beginning. The architects departed as mysteriously as they had arrived, but their message remained clear in the quantum consciousness humanity now shared. They had not seeded the galaxy with consciousness to create weapons or tools or slaves. They had done it to create gardeners who would help consciousness flourish in all its diverse forms. Admiral Zhang, standing in the quantum chamber beneath Titan's ice, smiled as he felt the changes rippling through space. "We made so many missteps getting here," he transmitted to the network, "but each one taught us something crucial about who we really are. The Shadow Council transmitted one final message across the quantum network before dissolving itself. Humanity's true destiny isn't to rule or fight or harvest or seek revenge. Our destiny is to nurture the very thing that makes us human. The endless capacity to grow, to learn, to change, and to help others do the same. As the new era dawned, Lieutenant Patel looked out at the transformed solar system. The quantum structures now pulsed with life and possibility, not destruction and control. Humanity had found its place in the cosmos, not by becoming the most powerful species, but by becoming the most human one. The galaxy would never be the same, and that finally was exactly as it should be.